Hey guys, Jason. And by far my most received email is always asking me about Bitcoin's price. I'm not a magician, so I can't tell you what the price is going to be, but I am a statistician. I love numbers, I love data points, I love historical averages, and I love to use that information and, all this data to come up with a reasonable expectation of what the price should be and what it most likely will be. And I feel like a lot of the Bitcoin community, and I don't blame you, it's in the same way in the investment community, is everybody's very short-sighted. They want to make, the most profit in the next 6 months because that's the only way that they're, going to complete their life. And if you're one of those people, don't worry, I'm not calling you out. I'm just trying to help you. So a lot of people, when they talk to me, they send me emails, they say, look at Bitcoin's year to date. And so I'm going to tell you what those numbers are. Year to date is January 1st, 2014, Bitcoin's price was $740. Currently, it is about $636. So people say, well, man, Jason, year to date, it's negative. If I bought in January 1st, 2014, I've lost money. Okay, maybe you have. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that you probably bought in when it was too high. And let me try to explain this. We talk about, prices. And there's a great video out there by a guy that I love watching his Bitcoin videos. And again, if you want to go watch him, it's great. I forget his YouTube channel name. But he spends an entire 20 minutes explaining how Bitcoin's price is comparative to companies like Twitter. And one of the things he makes reference to is he says, well, look at Twitter. When it was private, all these venture capitalists were buying it. And every day they judge the price. But now that it's on the public stock exchange, it's not going to, fluctuate very much. But when it's, a public or a private venture, it's going to fluctuate crazy. So when these private, VP firms invested, talking about the past, invested in Twitter, the price was changing every day. If Twitter had one bad financial payment, then oh my gosh, Twitter's going to fail. What they call the venture capitalist estimated fund or estimated expenditure, which is basically saying how much is that company that we own worth right now. Well, it was exponentially going up and down. And this he explains. He says the same things with Bitcoin, and he explains it by comparing exposure rates. How many users were on Twitter compared to how many users on Bitcoin. Phenomenal video. I love it because, of course, I love math. I love the explanation of how much does something make and why does it make that much money, and it's just awesome. And you'll enjoy it. It's a very simplistic video, but it's great. I'll maybe put the link in the video. If not, search Bitcoin, exponential, growth, and I'm sure you'll find it. So, we talk about the year, I'm going to get back on point. We talk about the year to date being dramatically, over $100 in the hole. But let's go back a little bit more. That's a 15%, decrease in price from the year to date. But let's, for instance, go back a year. And this is what I love doing. I love, saying, don't look short-sightedly. Don't look at the last 5.5 months. Look at, the last however many years that I've been involved in this. So let's go into the year to date. Or not year to date. I just did year to date. Let's go into 1 year. So a year ago, Bitcoin was only worth $110. So if 1 year ago you invested in Bitcoin, you would have had 580% increase. Because obviously right now it's $636. So just 1 year ago, so 1 year ago today, it was worth $110. And so if you tell someone on the street, if you tell them, and seriously, try this. Go up to someone you don't know and say, if I set you a checking account up or a CD account, and you put $100 in, and in 1 year from this date, you can't touch that money, but in 1 year you'll have $580. I'm thinking they'll be pretty interested. We talked about before, even the most risky hedge funds are usually 30%, 40% yield, which is incredible, but they're extremely, extremely risky. Bitcoin is pretty risky. Although I always talk about, look at what the coin has to offer. Bitcoin has so many services that have been started up in the last year that obviously, I talk about, I've actually in the process right now of forming a company for a whole different venture. But for instance, in Ohio, you have to fill out 100 pages of paperwork for liability and stuff. It's crazy. But these companies are doing the same thing. And when you're talking about finances, you have federal regulations. So I guarantee you they have thousands of pages of documents they have to fill out. So it's going to take them a year, 2 years, 3 years to get their company up off the ground, even though they're being supplied by venture capitalists. So, just take that into account that even if a company says they're coming out today and they got the paperwork filed, it's going to take them a few years to really show you what they have the benefit. We talk about things, companies that are in this, are publicly traded stock companies, in, top 5 Fortune 500 in America, and they're accepting Bitcoins for payment, which is phenomenal. That's awesome, guys. So year to date, 508% increase. Now this is where it gets awesome. I love telling people these numbers because it makes me smile, and I know it makes you smile sitting behind that screen. 2 years ago, to this date, Bitcoin was $5.70. $5.70. So that's 1,111 times the profit. Interested? So essentially, if 2 years ago I said, Bob, give me $1, and in 2 years I'll give you $1,000. Every single person you tell that would laugh you in the face and say, yeah, you're on crazy talk, get off the drugs, right? But that's what happened, guys. I know countless people that I can't mention their names, but I know people in the Bitcoin community that did just that. They took $100 out of their savings account, they invested in Bitcoin, and they have a lot of money now because they looked at the long sight. The people that got into Bitcoin in the very beginning, and the people that I've talked to before under different usernames, because I like to stay very private, when we talk, I've talked to them before. I kind of got less from the Bitcoin community because I'm going to college. And I say, we used to joke, and I would talk to people, and I said, well, what's $100 investing? We used to joke, what's $25, right? Well, what's $25 2 years ago if you have, $20,000 now, right? I mean, those numbers are exponential, but they're true numbers. So when you're sitting there saying, oh, woolly me, Bitcoin's down $100 this year, it's a 5.5 month average. It's, in the financial market, usually unless it's a very risky or very explosive or new type of fund, usually you don't look at averages, smaller than a year. And even though we're in 4 financial quarters, we tell people, and people have told me before in other, financial investments, don't look at anything smaller than a year. So, I mean, if the smallest thing in a year, you're making 580%, if in 2 years you're going to make 1,000 times your money, isn't that a no-brainer? 2 years ago. Guys, I remember 2 years ago sitting on the bus looking at Bitcoin's pricing. I've talked about this countless times. I remember seeing it be $6 or $7 and saying, I've lost out, guys. I used to tell myself, Jason, you're so stupid. You lost out. You should have got in when it was $3 or $4. You could have doubled your money. You're never going to make any money in Bitcoin. $7. Now it's at 600 some. So don't be so short-sighted. Another common misconception, people say, well, Jason, it got up to $1,000 before. You know something else that happened? When Bitcoin in 2011, it went up to about $32. And then when it crashed down to $2 or $3, everyone was getting out of Bitcoin. Everyone said, oh, Bitcoin's over. Me and a few people, because a lot of people who got out of Bitcoin stayed in it. We said, oh, this is just a wave. It's just a wave. It's going to come back up. Guess what it did? We call these spikes, and sometimes spikes are very, they're bad to judge a market by. People, when they've heard Bitcoin's past $1,000, that's a great thing. Well, I hate when people do that because it's not, a lot of us knew it was a bubble. I've talked to countless people. I myself knew it was a bubble, but nobody wanted to listen to me. I got countless emails, Jason, you're stupid. It's not a bubble. This is just Bitcoin exploding. Guess what? It was a bubble. You know what I mean? So, but on a linear path, and I'm going to put a chart over here, on a linear path, Bitcoin's exponentially increasing. So I want to give you guys a statistic that is going to blow your mind. So the historical average range, which is something that, for instance, for Coinbase, the first day that they have recorded transactions for what Bitcoin's price was worth was July 17th, 2010. So that's about, 4 years ago? About 4 years ago, right? Actually, 47 months, about 1 month shy of 4 years. Bitcoin was worth 5 cents. 4 years ago, Bitcoin was worth 5 cents. Today, Bitcoin is worth $636.29 at the time of this video being made. So, 47 months, or 1,410 days, has passed since Bitcoin was worth 5 cents. If you would have invested if you would have invested 1,410 days ago when Bitcoin was worth 5 cents, you would have times your money by $12,725. So, this is pretty crazy. Imagine this. Say you put $1 into Bitcoin 4 years ago, you would have $12,725. Isn't that pretty incredible? So, we talk about historical averages and linear calculations. And so let me give you a linear growth calculation. If you took the 1,410 days and divided it by the price of Bitcoin, that would equivalent out to about $9 a day it increased. So yeah, obviously every day, like today, it's not increasing the last 6 months, $9 a day. But if you look at a chart from very start of Bitcoin trading to current day, and you make a linear chart of that, you're going to notice that Bitcoin has increased $9 a day. I hope I made my point. I love, explaining this to people. I tried doing this in email, but it's a lot easier in video format. Don't look at short range numbers. If you're going to invest for 5 years minimum. And so many people are like, oh, well, look, I can day trade. No. There are programs out there that are way smarter that are going to do that. Yeah, I've talked to people, for instance, one of my cousins actually day trades Bitcoin every once in a while with some of his buddies. And he makes a few $100s every here and there. And yeah, you can make money. But when you invest in Bitcoin, first of all, make sure you're not a bubble. Make sure the price is low, to averages, to the reasonable 6 month before and after. And when you invest, don't say, oh, 7 months it's not increased, I'm getting out. If you're going to invest in Bitcoin, wait a minimum of 5 years. So the people that I talked to back in 2011, if you use that standard, they still today want to get their money out for another 13 months for the 5 year standard. So tell me, if you were yourself 5 years ago, or 4 years ago actually, and you invested $1 in Bitcoin, and today that was worth $12,000, $12,725 actually, and you still had to wait 13 months, wouldn't that pull you in? Wouldn't that convince you? A lot of people say I'm trying to commit, a pyramid scheme thing, and I'm not. People think so. I'm actually, and I'm very open with this. I'm not heavily invested in Bitcoin anymore. I'm very interested in trading altcoins. So when I'm telling this from my heart. I'm telling this from my mind, from statistical standpoints. I'm not trying to convince you to buy Bitcoin. This is just to explain to you the pricing of Bitcoin, explain to you historical averages, and explain to you why you shouldn't be worried about Bitcoin's price right now, because it's probably going to go up. And that's not me saying I hope it goes up. That's me saying look at historical averages. Thank you guys for watching. I know these videos get kind of long, but I hope I explained it in great detail. If you have any questions, please email me. I love your emails. Have a great day.